So what have you done since then? So I know
since then, what I have done is I have decided to be a learner.
Good for you.
Yes.
Okay.
Number one.
All right.
So
that's why you're going to
I've been attending Ignite.
Yes. Good.
And it's been really good. The last session, it was Eric.
Oh yeah.
Eric's session. So I was up front, number one, and I said, I'm going to be your best student.
Good for you.
Yeah.
What'd you learn?
He was excited. He thought it was a joke. I said, no, I'm being serious.
No, because everybody thinks, like, that's what we talked about the last time.
I went to Arlene's class, yeah.
Good.
And she came up to me and she said, I know you have more experience, but I'm not sure if any of this has been helpful to you.
Uh-huh.
And I said, yes! I made so many notes.
Yes. Well, and I think people in general, they think once you're a leader or you're experienced, your learning stops.
Right.
And actually, it never stops because somebody's always better at something than you are. So why wouldn't you go to their classes or pick their brain a little bit if they have the time? But good for you.
And it seems like, and I think that's in everything, not just learning that information. Like when you watch a movie and you've seen the movie 3 times, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I don't remember that scene.
Exactly.
You know, I don't remember that detail about the movie.
Right.
And it repeats itself when you're learning that information and listening to them, and things are just clicking in a different way.
Right.
You know, that they were a year ago, or things that I've known for years. You know.
And I always tell people, sometimes they'll give you the information, but you don't know where to apply it. And then you have that one situation that comes up and you're like, yes, this is what I remember. Or maybe you got all the information, you weren't quite as far in your career, and then you go back to that same class. That's why I love contracts classes. I know the contract in and out, but I love contract classes because every time I go, I learn something different, or maybe a way to present it different, or things like that. So contracts is my favorite. I love, because every time you go, you're like, oh, I don't remember that. Or, we change every 3 years, so.
And I think that's one thing I admire about you, that you're there for classes.
Yeah.
This lady's like, doing amazing, so much, and you've been in the industry for such a long time. And to see you so down to earth, like, oh, I didn't know that, or,
exactly. Right.
Tell me more about it.
Right. Because
you're always so open to learn.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm not the smartest person. I just think I work a lot harder than most people.
Yeah.
And honestly, when the market was horrible, I had a lot of time to train, which thank God I did, because it prepared me for a busier market. Mm-hmm. So it makes I tell people you should always go to class. All of our agents here, when they have something, I wanted to go to that tax class today, but I've been out of the office a couple days this week, so I wasn't able to go. So I guess I'll pay my full taxes this year. Oh, in fact, I gotta pay my quarterly. I can't forget to do that. That's funny.
I've been doing taxes for a very long time. I think I was 18 when an IRS lady trained me for taxes. And I've been doing my taxes for a very long time.
Good.
Yeah. But the rules, like in real estate, taxes, the same thing. I should be attending that class because rules change.
Right.
And in real estate, same thing. And rules keep changing, and new regulations, and it's like, the industry itself, the foundation is still the same, but certain little things that
and the tax laws change all the time, right? So you don't know what you can actually write off. Mm-hmm. So the last time we talked, you were kind of teetering between being a leader, which you are in our company, and being a learner, because you felt like everybody feels like you know everything. They go to you all the time. And I think in that sense you were shorting yourself because you still want to learn and grow. And I think the one thing that I hope people see in me is you never stop learning. This is always an ongoing process. I'll quit learning when I die. That's what I tell people. Because regardless if I'm learning how to paint or pottery, whatever I might do in the next phase of my life, I'll still enjoy the process, the learning process. So I'm proud of you that you're going to all the classes. What did you learn from Eric?
I'm trying to shadow you. I'm trying to reflect that because that's what I see.
Oh, thank you.
Even when you're teaching the class and you're just sitting there and thinking of the things that you say when you interact with other professionals, and you're learning as you're, doing your deals or asking them questions.
Right.
And, acknowledging that, hey, that's your area of expertise, and
Right. And there's times I've told people, why do you say that? Like, we'll be working on a contract, and I tell them, I'm not questioning your motive. I'm questioning why. I want to learn, why would you do it this way? And then they'll say, oh, because of this, and you're like, I got a different. Because sometimes I think we get stuck in our perspective in presenting offers or working our business, that we get stuck that it is the right way because it's working. Okay, so we sell 220 units a year. You feel like, I think people from the outside always feels like it's working. It does work. Is there room for growth or change? Maybe we're doing something 3 times that we don't have to do, or maybe there's an easier process to do one of our, like our transition to command. So Raylene's going to come in and help us with that, kind of learn our business processes, and then tell us what she thinks we should keep and what she thinks we could definitely move over to command. Mm-hmm. I'm not an expert in command, nor do I ever want to be. So she is. So that's who you bring in, and that's who you rely on. And it's okay. I think a lot of people in this business are, they're afraid to say, I don't know.
Yeah.
And I think you should always say when you don't know.
Right.
I just don't know, but I'll find out, because you have such great resources. So never be afraid to say, I don't know.
Yeah. Because
people would rather you be honest with them than act like you know something when you don't.
I think majority of my business has been on buyers, so.
Right. And most young agents starting into the business, or newer agents.
Seems like it's the easier transition into getting your database and set up and everything. So.
And I think too, it's an easier learning process. I think when you're out there and you see the marketplace, it's easier to say this house is worth this, or this house is worth that, because you've seen all the inventory, right? So good.
It's already exposed.
Right. Yeah. I was a younger agent. I go on tour a lot, and you would almost see like 230, and then there'd be a house that's 230 that's really a 180, and you would know instantly, because you're like, it doesn't have the same finish. So that's a really great way to start learning the marketplace.
I've been going to tour. Mainly right now, is taking the Ignite classes.
Good.
Which I think I mentioned to you, is really my first time taking Ignite.
Right. And everybody thinks you probably took it 3 times already.
Because my first time was teaching it, and I had never taken it.
Right.
I got just teach it.
Yeah. I taught the CMA class, but it was ethics that day or something, so not everybody showed up.
Yeah. So it's really a different perspective. It's really nice. It's been
not to have the pressure,
fresh of breath air, to not have the pressure, and just sit on this side of the classroom and absorb.
Yes.
So I've been I've been a sponge. I just feel like I've been absorbing as much as I can, and it's been I think mainly like filtering out all the information that I'm listening to, and those little pieces that it never hit me before. Right. It's like I'm writing down this keywords and these key phrases that are just fitting into those little areas that I need right now.
Right.
Just right now for this moment.
Right.
For my process that I'm going through right now.
That's the way to do it. So how has it changed your business? So you're so you're probably, what, 8 classes in Ignite? Today will be the 9th. I think this is the 3rd week.
Right.
So how do you feel like that's changing your business? Is it giving you inspiration or maybe more confidence to start generating more business?
I think obviously process of Ignite teach us to stay active on the activities that are money producing activities. I've always had that standard for myself. Good. I've always been active, and I've always been out there and out in the community, which is something that I really like.
Right.
I've always had that standard of making those calls and getting in touch with people and following up, and I feel that I'm good at those things, but Ignite for me in this round has been more of I think I'm more receptive to myself, and I'm more receptive to actually bringing in that business just in a different way.
Right.
Like actually, more of applying it more purposefully.
Right. Yes, perfect. Right, because if you have the information and you don't apply it, it's just information.
So, doing the activities and being out in the community and, making calls and everything, but a lot of times we can block that business from coming in. You're doing the activity to go through the motions and,
And sometimes not asking for the business.
Yeah.
Right.
And not asking for the business or not receiving it, too.
Right.
You can be blocking yourself from, receiving that business. And
right.
So there's a little change there.
Good.
And I think it's an important change because I've always been a hard worker. And
right.
I've always
been a natural leader.
Yeah. And I don't stop at doing what I'm doing. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So the activities have been there, but it's the purposeful mindset.
Right. Good for
that
you.
is kicking in for business. So.
Good.
Just went under contract last night.
Yay! Good for you. Yay! So do you think it's becoming easier? The one thing I learned, the more classes I went to, I just felt like conversations became much easier for me.
Yeah.
Maybe because somebody told you a story of, hey, this happened to me and this is how I handled it. And then when that situation comes up, you're like, yeah, okay, it's easier to relate maybe. Or when we're teaching contracts, I always like to tell people, this is why you do it. This section says this and this is why. This is what it applies to, because I need to know why. You can say, put the phone in your case, and I'm the person to say why. Because if you don't, it'll break. I mean, simple things like that. But for me, I always have to know the why. Yeah. Because then in my mind, that's how I learn. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's why I would do it this way. So
I think I'm very much wired similar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I usually have a lot of questions. I do question people. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they say, well, and I've heard it in the past, you question authority too much.
Oh.
But
good.
It's because
way to go.
This is the first time I'm congratulated about it. Yes, I'm in the right place. Especially when I was in government, and I started to get into committees and started to lead different movements.
Right. I think if you're doing the right thing, you shouldn't be too worried about being challenged.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
I was in the bad seat. I was like, why are you questioning the process? Why are you questioning this?
Right. Because you need to know why. Yeah. And maybe there's a different process. Yeah.
So my mindset's always, what's the process and why are we doing it this way and how can we do it better?
Right.
And
I
think
why.
it's within my personality already, but yeah.
And so I
feel like I'm in the right place.
Right. And I think insecure people take that very hard when you question the process.
Correct.
But I think if you can be open to why, so, and a lot of times that's why I say I'm not questioning the way you're writing the contract. I want to know behind why are you writing it, because then that can open my brain to something else. So I've always believed in questioning people, because that's the only way you can learn. It makes them better people, I think, as well.
Correct.
Because you have to look at your insides. I mean, there's times that people challenge me.
Yeah.
And when you go away and you really have a chance to think about it, and you're like, okay, learn something new about myself. Or, you know, when we did our DISC test.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm reading mine, and I'm like, this is not me. I was so ticked. So I'm like, this is not me. But I went home and slept on it, and I was like, oh my God, this is me. Like, initially, you don't want to hear it. But then the more I slept on it, I was like, oh my God, it's you. It is you. So, and then I gave it to the staff, and I laughed, because the first day I was like, no way, I don't match this.
Yeah.
I matched it to some degree, but some of it I was like, no. And then the more I thought about it, I'm like, oh my God, it is me. Because, you know, I like short and quick, and I'm not a storyteller. I'm not really as coddling as I should be. You know, get to it. Let's fix this thing and let's get on.
So mind-blowing how accurate that it is when it's telling you.
Yeah.
You're like, I haven't known myself for 38 years.
Yes, yeah. I was just denying small portions of it. So, but when it's in writing,
this is me. Nope, this is not me.
That's right. And when it's writing, you're like, okay, that's me. Yeah. I think it says a lot about a person. The one thing I like about it in leadership and learning is, you know, how to, I guess, explain things or handle people in different ways. So with me, people know I don't want the story from the beginning. I need the cliff notes and let's get this going. And other people need the story. They need to tell it. They need to tell you the whole thing. They want you to take the time to listen to them and then give them the answer. And that's probably what I struggle with the most. But I'm also very honest with people.
But you also say, hey, I struggle with this, so now they know not to.
So I'll tell the kids, wind it up here, let's get going. So yeah. Well, good. So it's all a learning process. Good.
It's all a learning process.
Good for you.
Dissecting. And for me, when you were talking about the disc, for me it was a bit scary. It was a bit scary and intimidating.
Why?
Because I knew stuff about myself, but I think I go through life and, you know, walk around just being myself. I don't really reflect on how you see me and whether you like me, and I just have my thoughts and my ideas, and I get inspired about something, I do it, you know. And so when I sat down and I read that and I started to dissect like my personality, and well, that matches. Well, yeah, that matches. But I think what threw me back was the category.
Meaning what? You're high.
I'm a conductor category.
Okay.
So that was the part that, like you were talking about our last conversation, you're a natural leader, but I never actually categorized myself that way.
Right, because it just comes so easy.
I fell into it every time that I interacted with whatever organization I was in or whatever.
Well, you really don't fall into it. You know that. Consciously. Consciously.
You walk through that door.
Right. Yeah. Because it is so easy for you. So somebody else who's not a natural leader, they can't put themselves out there. So they'll never put themselves in a position where they're a leader. And that's okay. I always say you can't have too many chiefs. Somebody's got to be an Indian, right? Somebody's got to follow.
I got the feather.
Yeah. So, but in your case, you're just so natural at it, and people, you're so confident that whether you know what you're doing or not, they are going to follow you. But that's very natural for you, where other people are so worried to say the wrong thing or to offend somebody, or to not be willing to say, I saw this a different way. Brandon and I had an email conversation last night, and it was ALC, and we were kind of bringing up something, and I mentioned, like, guys, this is what we want to do, and everybody gave their feedback. And then the way Brandon wrote back, I was like, wow, I saw that in a whole different light. Like, I'm so glad you took the time to explain it to me. This is how you were seeing it. Because I was like, click. For me, I was like, that makes perfect sense now. For it just cleared everything up, and I felt so much better about it because he was looking at it as a positive and I was looking at it as a negative. And when he communicated what he was thinking to me, I'm like, you're absolutely right. It is a positive.
Yeah.
It was really cool.
Just so the different perspective.
Right, but people are afraid to say that. Yeah. People are afraid to say, I don't think we should do this here.
Mainly afraid of communication.
Right.
And communication and expressing your perspective doesn't necessarily mean that you're conflictive. It just means that you're sharing your view of things.
Right.
And so,
and I call it adult conversations.
Yeah.
Because it shouldn't be a conflict.
Right?
It should be
It's
this is what we're we're both trying to
to
achieve the same goal.
Right.
We're just looking at it differently. And it was so